welcome back the Executive Director of the FinOps Foundation, J.R. Storman.
Good morning. Morning, everybody. Are you awake? Yeah, I would say the most consistent feedback point we got yesterday is, dang, the keynote start early. So it's good to see all of you here. It's quite a day. We heard so many great stories yesterday morning. I heard from a lot of you at the events last night. Who went to a party last night? All right. Who went to all the parties last night? Nice. Yes, the photographer went to all the parties. Thank you for your service. So there were a lot of great moments. These are from yesterday. They took these just yesterday from around the conference. Amazing interactions. I was amazed at how many smiling, laughing people were in the photos we got back, legitimately enjoying themselves. I asked a lot of people last night, like, what were the main things you heard? And I think pretty consistently, I got some version of AI, right? AI is the sizzle. But we heard that Cloud Plus and Scopes were more of the meat. And the best quote I got from a few folks on that was that work that they're doing to expand their practices and being asked by the business to take on more is actually changing their day jobs more quickly than they expected. I heard a mix, a lot of talk about SaaS. I heard a mix on the data center stuff. I had some people saying everybody's talking about it, some people saying nobody's talking about it. Again, the scopes are driven by your business needs and your setup. I heard the Eubanks talk was swarmed. It was great to see a great South American brand here on stage. So many people building on each other's work as well in terms of, I learned this last year, I'm back this year. I see so many repeat speakers out here. That was really amazing to see. And we're, for some of you, it's first timers. This is a much bigger conference for us, interestingly. So I heard both, wow, it's gotten big, and this is so much more intimate than those big cloud conferences in Vegas. So we're trying to figure out the balance there. I tell my team we want to scale this small, keep it intimate, but bring all the people together. Great new personas here, seeing more sourcing people, ton of more engineering people. We're seeing ITAM people, we're seeing procurement people, the extended business practice. And I heard great attendance down at the Focus Lab. Some of the team that was down there said that you all were very full of opinions on what should happen with Focus, use cases. They are still taking inputs. They're building the 1.3 scope right now. So please go down and give them more opinions, if you haven't yet, about how Focus should expand into the future. And today we're going to talk about both FinOps for AI, the managing of the spend, as well as AI for FinOps, how AI is affecting your business and practice. As we talked about yesterday, a lot of you are treating AI as a dedicated scope, and we're going to hear from a number of practitioners today about how they're doing that, how the practice is different for them as they look to implement that across their organizations. The fun numbers, if you look at the growth of these things, are that cloud is still huge. I mean, cloud's, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, but it's growing pretty consistently at this point. The AI spend growth is growing dramatically at this point. This year, across public cloud and SaaS and all the areas that people are investing in AI, $650 billion estimated this year in Gen AI spending. It took cloud like 15 years to get there. So the thing we're going to talk about today is that the challenge is unmanaged costs can really threaten innovation in your AI projects. Today, we're going to dive into all of those concepts for how we're seeing that come together. And I want to welcome to the stage my good friend who's been in this with me from the beginning, co-author of the Cloud FinOps book and CTO of the FinOps Foundation, Mike Fuller.
Great to be back here this year. For those who don't know me, I've been at the Foundation full-time for the past 2.5 years, but as J.R. mentioned, I was one of the original founding members. Before that, I was the technical lead at Atlassian for 10 years, where I managed their FinOps for cloud as the spend grew into the hundreds of millions, and we also operated FinOps for SaaS, adding additional tens of millions of dollars managed by the FinOps team. So yep, we're going to be talking about FinOps for AI because we hear lots of interest from you, the practitioners in the community. Either you're being asked already about managing AI spend at your organization, or you're preparing to do so and really looking to be ready for that ask. On the surface, it may appear like you need to really learn about a whole new thing, but there's good news. Managing AI for FinOps is much like managing any technology spend area. Most of the strategies you see here today will apply everywhere across your spend. We might call it FinOps for Cloud and FinOps for AI, but underlyingly, it's all just FinOps. Now, highlighted in a recent paper by our AI working group on the differences and the similarities between public cloud scope and the FinOps for AI scope, it's all new. But at the same time, it's all the same. And so what do I mean by that? Well, there's new terminology, things like tokens and inference and fine-tuning. There's new engineering practices based on fuzzy math of tokens. There's volatility like dynamic, dramatic price shifts and new vendors coming into the market. Market shortages means that your teams are kind of just using whatever they can get their hands on and sometimes forced to use that versus what they would really ideally fit the workload. Reasoning models take a lot of different paths, and the nature of Gen AI means the same prompt can end up creating different outputs. And it makes it really hard for your teams to estimate the cost of AI. The lowering barrier of entry for AI systems means that more people across your organization are choosing to interact with and choosing to use AI in their systems. You've got less experience forecasting this AI spend, and ultimately this is moving at a very fast pace, so decisions are being made quickly. But at the same time, you've skilled up in a new complex area of technology before, and you've standardized the terminology used in your business around cloud and containers and SaaS products. Yes, it's new engineering practices, but you understand consumption-based pricing and you've wrangled complex and detailed billing. You know how to tag and allocate and collaborate with teams to drive ownership of cost. You know how to build collaboration with personas in your organization, and most of those teams you work with today are going to be the same people involved in managing your AI spend. Yes, you've got less experience, but you've conquered how to estimate, forecast, and budget new technology areas of spend, and ultimately you implemented FinOps in order to drive faster decision-making in your organization. You're good at looking at spend. AI brings a lot of new ways of doing things, but FinOps gives you the way to manage it with the capabilities you already know. The principles you apply to your FinOps for Cloud today are going to be the same that you're going to use for managing your AI. They provide the foundational approach, the way of thinking, in a way you manage technology spend. And as JR presented yesterday, for the first time since 2019, we updated them slightly to really reflect that expansion of spend management, including in areas of FinOps for AI. As you look at the framework to outline your AI practice, you keep your scope for FinOps for Cloud. You maintain those capabilities that you've built, the targets you've set, and the outcomes that you're trying to derive for your organization for cloud spend. We saw a bunch of scopes from organizations yesterday, like those from MGM and Disney up here on the keynote, but every practitioner in their breakout sessions is talking about how they're defining their scopes for their practice. When you start managing AI, you need to really differentiate how your FinOps practice applies and define your profile of practice for your AI spending. Our FinOps for AI scope enables you to decouple the expectations of your business as usual public cloud spend from the usage needs from your developing AI spend. Being awesome at AI isn't the outcome your business is trying to achieve. They're trying to increase revenues and market share or strategic partnerships or new product features. You use these business objectives to really help you define what your FinOps for AI scope should be. You set your capability mix, and it's going to be different to what you're using in public cloud today. And you might change the expected outcomes you're wanting from these capabilities and change the pace that you want to mature them in practice. But just like in cloud, setting of these sliders for each capability is an ongoing process. Remember, there are no runners. Everyone wants to optimize everything. But the State of FinOps survey shows us that organizations who are managing AI are focusing on the capabilities in this order. And it's no surprise that optimization is a little lower on the list because right now we're just trying to get our arms around what is this AI spend. Allocation models that you're going to have to apply to AI need to work with the features that are offered by your AI platforms, but you want to try and bring them together and align them as much as possible with your existing allocation strategies. Data sources are going to be distributed and more likely to change over time than your cloud data sources. And this is because there's new vendors and your teams are experimenting with the different options made available. And I have to mention focus at this point as a way to unify your AI costs. With reporting, you need to figure out which ones of your reports you're going to introduce your AI spend into, making sure that you don't double count, especially where the AI is running on cloud. But also figure out what reports do you need to build, brand new, tailored, just to tell the story of what AI is costing you and how it's benefiting the business. Now, anomaly management is very important for AI costs because they can build up pretty quickly, especially when you're allowing your teams to experiment without any cost concerns. So putting this into practice, let's see how Workday tackles data and allocation to enable AI use, both internally and for their customers through their platform. Please welcome a member of our FinOps Foundation Governing Board and the Director of Strategic Initiatives at Workday, Taiwo Ojetayo.
Good morning, FinOps X. I'm Taiwo Ojetayo. I lead the FinOps practice at Workday. For those of you that are familiar with Workday, Workday is an AI platform company that helps over 11,000 of our customers manage their two most important assets, their people and their money. Now, let's think through this a little bit differently. Because of our unique architecture of Workday, we chose to have a centralized approach to our AI platform, meaning we're serving two different streams, our internal business technology use case and our innovative products. You will see Workday AI agents transform how our customers manage their payroll, their recruiting, their contracts, and so many of their critical business functions. Our Workday assistant is also going to get smarter as we train these models on customer-specific data. For our internal business technology use cases, we've seen our developer productivity increase significantly because they all now have access to the GitHub Copilot. All other workmates also have access to Gemini and also to Slack AI. Selfishly, our FinOps organization also leverage Lightdash AI Analyst Assistant that's helping us, improve our productivity. This wasn't a walk in the park. It came with its challenges. I'm sure most of you do understand that, there's unprecedented concept to reality with AI innovation, which means there's rapid R&D to production. This leads to fragmented cost. Costs are everywhere. Internally developed models, different CSPs. We need to balance accountability with governance at the right level. What does that mean for us at Workday? It also means that we needed to really understand our cost. There were tagging and allocation cost gaps that we needed to fix in order to be able to tie our AI investment to tangible business value. How did we solve for this? We knew going to this that our existing FinOps metadata, we call it our secret sauce, of really understanding our cost, needed an upgrade. So we started getting deep Kubernetes hierarchy from our CSP metadata, from cluster, node, even to container labeling. This is where the magic happened. We layered the AI metadata. What model am I using? What's the version? What's the workload type? Is it inference or training? Is this hosted internally or externally? What AI feature is calling these models? What customer is requesting for this service? And which client? Now, this is where things get interesting. On the how, we have to step back to really understand our AI cost, which means we need to identify all of the costs and aggregate it at a much detailed granularity. That didn't come easy because we had to fix our labeling and tagging gaps as well. This gave us the ability to pin down every AI resource to the model, to the customer inference, and also the cost of developing all of these models. Now, that's not the whole story. The whole story of where the magic really comes to light is the unit economics. Now we're able to calculate, what does it cost me to train a model? What does it cost me to develop an AI feature? What's the cost per 1,000 inference? All of these were now displayed in a dynamic dashboard that we democratized access to engineers, product leaders, and executives. What does this mean? It gives them unprecedented visibility into the unit cost to be able to drive efficiency and make data-driven decisions on which AI feature should I double down on? Where can I optimize? I'll tell you a little story. This insight has made us make two critical decisions. We now know that we could optimize underutilized capacity by prioritizing cluster-level autoscaling. We also noticed that some of our replica models didn't have connection for extended period. That made us review our high availability policy for replica models. Now, the visualization through the dashboard is not just a static, here's the dashboard. It is now in our DNA. It forms the bedrock of our governance process. Every engineer, every leader, and executive now looks at this dashboard to be able to focus on what needs to get done and prioritize, both for our product prioritization and also where to invest. I'll leave on this party note. Getting to unit economics for AI spend has not only given us the ability to proactively manage our AI costs, but we've been able to really quantify the value of AI while having innovative products in a really economically sustainable way. Now, for those of you who want to get into the nitty-gritty of how the sausage is made, we got a session at 11 o'clock today where we're going to get to 2-3 levels below on the nut and bolt. Please feel free to join us at that session. Thank you.
Thanks, Taiwo. It's great to see how getting your arms around that spend is really enabling that understanding in the business. Now, I was up here last year talking about build versus buy decisions that you, as FinOps practitioners, are making. And when we look at AI architectures, this is basically decisions that are being made across the whole architecture that your engineers are making in the same way. Now, State of FinOps data tells us that you aren't running all of your AI only in the data center, nor are you running it all only in the cloud. You're making choices across the mix. Visualizing this image from the FinOps for SaaS paper, the choices that your organization makes really influences how your FinOps for AI practice will operate. Specifically, the approaches you take to getting cost and usage data together and the optimizations that are available to you. Those decisions mean that your FinOps for AI practice will FinOps practice will not only be looking at AI models and the training, but also the cloud, the SaaS, and the data center components. All of this is to say the goal for FinOps is to look at the whole architecture and ways it can influence the decisions being made. Interactions with AI systems can appear pretty simple at first. A user or application issues a request in the form of a prompt, and the model creates a response and is provided back to the user. Now, if your organization chooses to train and deploy and operate your own models, you'll have additional areas to pay attention to. And of course, all this runs on top of infrastructure, like components, compute, and database and storage. But one of the most expensive resources is the GPU. As Scott from Microsoft said in the VP panel yesterday, GPUs are expensive. Now, you really wanted to understand how efficiently you're using those critical resources of your GPU, and just looking at the GPU utilization really might not be telling you the full picture. When you bring in other metrics like the memory utilization and power usage, you see a much more complete picture of the saturation of your GPUs. When you run AI in your data center, from an optimization perspective, you have all the keys. I mean, you have the keys to the building, but what I mean is you have all the responsibility. Meaning you can manage things that down to a much lower level, like power efficiency, but it means you have to manage those things all the way down to that lower level. As you decide to utilize more external offerings with AI, it removes items that you have to manage, but it also takes away some of those decisions that you would otherwise be able to make. In its simplest form, your applications in cloud are just reaching out to an AI API, inside of which you have limited ability to influence the underlying equipment, training processes, and model management. As your teams take on more of that AI development, FinOps is able to take a more active role in the decisions being made. Let's take a look at a critical area, data. Data has a huge impact on the cost of AI, not just the way that the data is stored and in the databases, but how it flows across the whole architecture, influences decisions being made everywhere. So to talk about data management at scale, I welcome the Senior Director of Data and AI Product Management, Kimberly Floss from PepsiCo.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. So what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today is the FinOps organization that we built for PepsiCo, and then how we evolved it to handle data and analytics and AI underneath that. So what you see in the center is the centralized FinOps organization. That's what we originally built as a part of our whole cloud practice that handles ingestion of the cloud bills, allocation of those bills to the different business units, driving optimization recommendations with our tooling, et cetera. After building that organization, I moved over on the data and analytics side. And what you see specifically here is the size of the bubbles, right? We have lots of business units using cloud services. Some are bigger, some are smaller. Data and analytics and AI is a key consumer, the biggest consumer of the services that we built. So I kind of came full circle, right? Started out building what we're doing from a practice perspective, and then moved over to be the consumer of that. Surely fingers crossed that it all worked as planned, right? Because now I was consuming what we had actually built, coming full circle. So in the analytics space, we follow an architecture, bronze, silver, gold. It's a medallion architecture. It's out there on Google. Lots of companies have referenced this architecture in particular. And what we're doing is ingesting data from the source systems so that we can make the appropriate business decisions via analytics, Power BI dashboards, et cetera, via the AI products that we're building on top of that. So we ingest it into bronze, bring it over into silver and gold, doing whatever aggregation, manipulation, standardization, et cetera, so that the data is actually consumable by the different product teams that are building our digital products. And the reason that we follow this methodology is A, so you have one single source of truth. The worst thing you can have is 25 different teams building 25 different data lakes, all reporting the same data, but nothing matches. And then you spend a lot of time chasing down those discrepancies. But the other reason is from a cost perspective, right? You don't want to duplicate that cost over and over and over again for the same data. So by following this model, we can build it once, make it available in our silver layer, and then the different teams can consume from there. So we have a single source of truth without the discrepancies, and we have a single cost model, which of course we need to allocate out to those consumers, which can be a bit challenging since it's all shared. So in the spirit of optimization for this AI architecture, this analytics architecture that we built, just a couple of focus areas here specifically. There's more to data than just storage, right? We all talk about the storage, but there's a whole lot on the compute side and the other ancillary pieces to make all of these engines work. And so when we look at how do we optimize that cost, we look at a lot of different areas. You'll notice they are not numbered because we have to look at all of them. It's not a sequence. And so with respect to that, we look at things like replication, right? Obviously, if you have a high availability strategy, if you have a disaster recovery strategy, you're going to replicate there. But you don't want to copy the same data all over the place just so different people can use it, right? Because that inflates your cost. You also want to look at unused data, right? Sometimes you have to sit on data for 5, 10 years for tax purposes or whatever, but you don't want to sit on data longer than you need it if you're not using it because it's additional cost. As well as the whole storage tiering piece, right? If you're sitting on data for historical needs, that's fine. Go for the coldest tier you can get if it's not accessed all that often. And obviously the commitments, that's the easy part, right? Commitment management, whether it's reserved instance, savings plans, the pre-purchase agreements, depends on what vendor you use, what hosting platform, what software, et cetera. Everybody calls it a different thing. So commitment management from Focus is super helpful because we can all use the same terminology. When we look at FinOps for AI specifically, because I know there was a reference, right? AI for FinOps, which is a great topic. FinOps for AI is also a great topic. There's different pieces that you want to focus on specifically. GPUs were already mentioned previously. Yes, very expensive, and so you want to monitor GPU usage, token costs, et cetera, and make sure you're using the right services in the right places so that you don't incur additional costs, right? And one example of that is prod versus non-prod. You may need certain services, certain components, certain SKUs in the production environment, but you don't necessarily need those in a non-production environment. Secondly, the POC concept. Everybody that's doing anything in AI, the first thing you do is a POC, right? Let me make sure it's going to work. It's going to do the thing that I think it's going to do for my business, which you want to proceed with. However, make sure the cost model is valid too. When you do a global rollout, the cost is very different than a small POC. So lastly, from a key considerations perspective, one of the big things that we look at is the architecture and proactive versus reactive FinOps, and making sure we follow the proactive FinOps model as well from the FinOps Foundation, and itemize all the pieces that you're going to build and make sure your cost model's on target. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Kim. That's really great. So looking back at our architecture, let's work through some of the optimizations that was recently presented in our Gen AI usage paper. FinOps practitioners are pretty familiar with the infrastructure layer, especially when AI is running on top of cloud. But moving into the model training, we see quality trade-offs on how long and how much to spend on training versus the quality of the AI outputs. James from AWS said yesterday in the VP panel that about fixing the cost of training and trying to optimize for the quality. We see decisions on how often to refresh, fine-tune, and re-index models based on how well they're meeting your business needs. Moving into the application that's using the inference, there's choices around which specific model to use and the generation of that model, with the newer generation models often being more performant and cheaper to run. And whether or not to run multiple models within your infrastructure, maybe one that's really good at doing image generation and another that's doing text, which then opens up the possibility to do prompt routing specific prompts to particular models in order to tailor the quality of each reply. The interface into AI systems enables prompt engineering, which sort of generally enables those decisions on how you will accept and tailor the prompts coming into the AI model itself. For example, removing unnecessary terms like pleases, thank yous, and cuss words. Or maybe like compressing image formats. Do you really need to push in a 4K image in order to determine whether it's a cat or a person in the image? And okay, this might look like a lot, right? You've learned how to advise teams on optimizing cloud infrastructures in just as many ways as this on the top of the screen here before. And you're not expected to be the expert in doing all of these optimizations, and you're not doing them all on your own. You collaborate with the teams across your organization. We heard from TJ from MGM yesterday around how he's building that extended team. We see practitioners forming stronger connections with their personas by building AI advisory groups, bringing together AI experts with strong knowledge in all of those optimizations. You have security, who is concerned around data governance, about what's happening in the AI models. Procurement, who's more actively involved as you're bringing on new vendors and experimenting with new options. You have business leaders, of course, trying to look to understand exactly what we're doing with AI in the business and making sure that they're actually having positive outcomes for the business. And then engineers, of course, they're making the decisions that you want to work with. So putting this into action, you want to identify the optimization opportunities you have, figure out which ones you can do, and then filter those down to which ones you want to do based on the impact it's going to have. And then you work to enable the relevant stakeholders to actually take that action. And then you measure and report the positive impact that FinOps is having. Of course, this should feel awfully familiar. What you end up getting is meaningful decisions on action that don't stand in the way of innovation, but actually enable it. By making sure you take advantage of the large opportunities to save means that you're not wasting, but you can actually allocate that budget to other AI opportunities. To help showcase how all of this comes together, in a Fortune 500 company at Wayfair, I welcome a key contributor and the leader of our FinOps for AI working group, Brent Eubanks.
Good morning. So I love this community. It's one of the ones where I know all of my peers and practitioners, we all have money on our mind every day, lots of money. And thank you to the foundation for letting me lead the AI working group for the last year. They let us cook, and we've been cooking up a lot, as you can see. So thank you to all the members and the contributors. We do want to show you guys all of this stuff you're learning. It's architected. There's blueprints. There's so much content. So now they're like, hey, is anyone doing it? Who's optimizing these AI workloads? Can I see what it looks like end to end, right? So I'm going to talk about that story today. And the workload that we're talking about is image metadata extraction. So we have these millions of products. And so we get all these images sent by the suppliers. So how do we get those images sent in and then get the metadata out? So now we can have this workload produce that in the task. So we're going to talk about how we applied the optimization. With this shoppable imagery, the anomaly detection that we set up, we saw the report come in, and an anomaly is both high and low. In this case, it was time. So we had the spend, it was just forecasted later in the year. So it showed up as an anomaly, plus the reporting. So we started looking at the team, and we have them set up to run in their own project. So a lot of this stuff can't be tagged yet. So when they run these workloads, it's in a project. So we knew who to go to right away. So once we found that, we said, hey, if there's a level of intelligence that it required a really expensive, large foundation model last year, well, the cost of intelligence is coming down. I think it's like 24x in the last 18 months. So if the cost of intelligence is coming down, why are we on a model that's almost a year old? And so we said, hey, look at this new Gemini 2.0 Flash model. It seems to be as intelligent as you need. And so we established this quality minimum looking at a benchmark. So the MMMU benchmark is a level of intelligence against a data set, plus our own humans saying, hey, we know what the image needs to say. Is it a chair? What color is it? Pull the hex code color off, and other metadata. So it goes into a JSON structured output. And so if it scores well enough, well, let's go ahead and do it. So we started a conversation with the engineering team and said, hey, we also see that you could be doing batch mode. They were doing streaming. This is not like a voice interaction. These files come in, and when they come in, just run it overnight. So what we did was we said, all right, now that we've seen this minimum, it looks like it meets it. Do you agree to just do these two things? So in the framework, you can see we came up with a lot of ideas, but only 2 of them really had the massive impact, and we wanted it to be done quickly. And let's just start there and get a quick win together. So from the working group papers of the effect of optimizing workloads, we used this chart. And so now we can see the magnitude of saying, if you just move from streaming to batch, that's 50% cost reduction. Then if you use this new model, it seems to be better, more intelligent, but 70% cheaper on the cost per million images that we process. So we proposed this chart, we got the buy-in, and then when they finished the engineering work, they produced their own back. And so that's how we shared the success study internally to say, look at what we actually achieved. And they actually achieved more savings once they were done. And so this is how we capture and quantify the magnitude of, if you can't do everything, maybe you'll do it later. So when we looked at the engineering work being done, we're like, all right, well, now that you did all the engineering work, that's great. Now what are we going to do about the forecast? We have so many other ideas for AI innovation that we need to fund. We can't fund them all. So you don't want to lock up the forecast that we had set aside. So now that we collapsed the price so much, open up that forecast so we can go fund other areas of innovation in the company. So then we said, all right, well, if the team recognized that we did that, do you think it's going to stop? Or do you think that in maybe 6 to 8 months, maybe the Gemma 3B model, a much smaller parameter count, or maybe something that can process on a CPU cluster, not expensive GPUs, if it meets the intelligence quality score and we can drop the price 50% again in December, will you commit to at least doing that on a regular basis? And so now it leads to more engineering conversations of, do you want to do a semantic router to do that for you? Or do you want to keep making one code change, right? So this is where we get into these topics of the paper, saying, all right, now don't think that it's going to stop here. Keep going. So once we did all that, now they're like saying, well, where's the value, right? Great. So different personas get different values. And so the value that we got out of it was from the business side, hey, we're getting a lot more revenue. Customers can find the product from an idea, or I have an image, or maybe it's a picture of your room, and I want to find things that have the same color combination. So we use that hex code to help produce other images. So the customers are happy, revenue's going up. From the engineering side, they're saying, hey, we have more opportunities to invest now. If we only have limited budget, let's optimize so that we can get more of these things funded. From the product side, they were able to get the images, the new ones that the suppliers send us, we can now get them on the website 5 times faster. So that's a win from the product side. And then on finance, we're hitting our budget accuracy goals. The finance forecasts are more accurate, and we don't have surprise going into finance, up or down, right? So that's some of the values. So as you guys go about and you're reading through these working group papers, I'd love to hear how you guys are optimizing. I want to hear about your successes. So who's really doing optimization? We wanted to share that experience with you guys today and share it back to the working group, because I'm sure all you guys are going to start getting optimizations, and looking forward to working together. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. So I've mentioned a pile of papers today. All of those are available on the FinOps.org website for you to consume. We thank all of the contributors in our working groups and Brent for leading the FinOps for AI working group himself. But all of these are going to help you on your journey to implementing FinOps for AI in your organizations. Of course, we're really excited to get you involved in the AI certification and then follow, as we develop that over the next 12 months, to follow that alongside your developing FinOps for AI practice. Now, you've been here before at the bottom of a mountain looking at a complex new area of technology spend. If you think back to when you started looking at your cloud spend in your organization and where you are today with your cloud spend management, this is where you're going to be with AI in not too long. Yes, you're going to have to learn some new terminology and some new concepts, so get trained, read the papers, collaborate with those in the community and your colleagues at work, form an AI advisory group and team up and work on it together. Understanding your AI spend is just the first step. I want you to all think about how you're going to build a plan to move into measuring the value that AI is having and optimizing its costs. The FinOps Foundation is here to support you on managing your AI spend. Thank you.
So it's amazing to see the sea change year over year. For those of you who have been a part of the foundation and came to this conference last year, how quickly the AI conversation has accelerated. I'm not going to lie, 2 years ago, I was personally a little bit of a skeptic about how much this was going to impact the practice. But the stories we're hearing are not only showing that acceleration of use and growth, but also, as we heard from Taiwo and Brent and Kimberly, this acceleration of the practices, integrating these concepts in. And I mean, that graph that Brent showed about the model prices dropping so precipitously shows that the rate of change there has to drive internal process change. And we're hearing from a lot of the large companies how hard it is to keep up with the speed at which not only the prices are changing, but the models and the options. It's one of the reasons in that FinOps for AI certification, we're doing it in a staggered approach. Every couple months, we're updating it to keep up with the rate of change. So we're going to switch the flow of the keynotes a little bit here. We've been talking a lot about FinOps for AI. We're going to move over to the product and service side from the cloud providers to hear the types of ways that they're looking at using AI to help accelerate the FinOps practice and the types of tools and data that they're bringing in to make it easier to manage all of this. So we're going to hear from all 4 of the top clouds today. And in the middle, I'm going to do a fireside chat digging in with the EVP from Salesforce about all of these themes. So hang on to your hats. It's going to be a lot of exciting back-to-back announcements. First up, starting us off, I wanted to welcome one of our governing board members, John Phillips, who runs, he's the GM of Insights for AWS, who's been a big contributor, obviously, to the foundation and to the focus specification. Please welcome to the stage, from AWS, John Phillips. Break a leg.
FinOps is everyone's job. This was a message emphasized in November in Barcelona at FinOps X Europe, and again here in San Diego. What everyone means is changing, and changing fast. Powered by LLMs, AI agents are becoming active participants in cloud cost analysis and optimization. And for them to add value, they need the strong foundation, the same strong foundation we built for people, and that includes powerful FinOps tools. I'm John. I'm Director of Product and Engineering for many of the FinOps tools you are familiar with. That includes Cost Explorer, Cost and Usage Report, Cost Optimization Hub, and budgets and more. In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about why in an agentic AI world, the tools we build are more important than ever, and I'm also going to make a few tooling announcements. But first, AWS is committed to FinOps. It's been 1.5 years since we've joined the FinOps Foundation. We sit on the governing board, participate in the technical advisory committee, the focus steering committee, and in working groups. We have hundreds of software developers, product managers, and field specialists helping our customers mature their FinOps practices, and many of them are here today. We offer dozens of FinOps tools, and with APIs and data exports at the heart of everything we build, we invite you to shape, adapt, and extend what we have to offer to best integrate it into your world. We're here to sit down with you, to listen, and to partner to together shape the future of FinOps on AWS. AWS FinOps isn't just for humans anymore. Agentic AI systems, they don't just generate responses to questions, they pursue goals, just like an analyst might. When given an objective, the AI system first reasons about how to best accomplish the goal, comes up with a plan, executes the plan, inspects the results, and if the goal is not achieved, replans and adapts. Think of agentic AI as digital assistants that never get tired and can relentlessly pursue outcomes that matter to your FinOps practice. Imagine having one of them, imagine having teams of them. But for this idea to work, agents need to be effective. It's tempting to think that LLMs can do anything, but in reality, they have limitations, and that's why they need tools. LLMs need access to your latest cost and usage data, cloud events and transactions. Tools feed them this information. LLMs can only approximate complex analytical operations, and tools provide them precise mathematical functions. Many FinOps use cases require thousands of data operations on large data sets. Alone, LLMs can bottleneck, and tools provide them bulk processing capabilities that allow them to cost efficiently scale. LLMs can't make changes on their own, and tools provide them the ability to take action, and tools provide standardization, bringing consistency and auditability to the outcomes and decisions of large language models. So it's not just that tools are helpful, tools are essential to making agents reliable, effective, fast, and cost efficient. You can experience the combination of agentic AI systems and FinOps tools from AWS today using Amazon Q CLI or Amazon Q Developer in the Cost Management Console. Amazon Q Developer is an AI assistant that enhances the productivity of using AWS. It offers multi-step reasoning capabilities that, combined with powerful tools, enable it to resolve complex queries in the AWS Cost Management Console. Today, it uses the Cost Explorer API for access to accurate, up-to-date cost and usage data and analytical operations, including filtering, grouping by, and forecasting. Together, they are a powerful combination. And I'm excited to announce that as of this week, Amazon Q Developer integrates with AWS's cost optimization tools. These cost optimization tools provide expert-validated recommendations for hundreds of AWS resource types. That includes right-sizing, idle shutdown recommendations, and commitment recommendations for reserved instances and savings plans. And importantly, these tools provide accurate savings estimates, factoring company-specific rates and rationalizing overlapping savings opportunities. You can't both shut down a resource and purchase a savings plan to cover it. This combination makes it possible for Amazon Q to reliably to find optimization opportunities, estimate their cost, and estimate their savings, and come up with execution plans. So I've talked a little bit about AI integrations with our existing FinOps tools, and now I want to spend some time announcing some new tools. Every year we expand the number of optimizations we offer, and I'm excited to announce I/O optimizations for Aurora database clusters. I/O optimized for Aurora offers improved performance, predictable pricing, and lower costs for I/O-intensive applications. Now, AWS Compute Optimizer looks at past I/O performance and cost history for your Aurora database clusters and recommends the I/O optimized configuration when it saves money. These recommendations are available on AWS Compute Optimizer, the Cost Optimization Hub, and through QDeveloper. Next, one of the most commonly repeated FinOps tasks is explaining changes in costs. Why did costs go up or down from one month to the next? In that process, you might do hundreds of comparisons, numerous sorts, and a deep dive into usage, rates, and discount coverage. I'm excited to announce Cost Comparisons, a feature of Cost Explorer that takes this heavy lifting away and makes change analysis reliable, fast, and scalable as your usage profile on AWS grows. This is available today through the AWS console and API. Next, the AWS pricing calculator. It's been available for years, but we've recently brought it into the AWS console, made it available through API, and upgraded its capabilities. This has been in preview for the past several months, and I'm excited to announce its general availability. The upgraded pricing calculator accurately estimates new workloads by factoring company-specific rates and discounts. It resolves complex estimation tasks, including factoring in volume discounts and factoring in your reserved instance and savings plans coverage strategy. It also enables what-if scenarios that allow you to understand the full bill impact of changes to purchase commitments. This is available through the AWS console and API. I also wanted to mention AWS's commitment to supporting Focus. We participate in building the specification. At this time last year, we announced the preview of Focus 1.0 support. At reInvent last year, we made it generally available, and we're currently actively working on supporting new Focus versions in the coming months. There's more I wasn't able to cover here, including more depth into things that I've announced and some new announcements. So please check out the AWS breakout sessions at 11 a.m. today and at 4:15 p.m. And also come find any AWS representative and give us feedback. We're really excited to meet you, to learn from you, and again, to shape the future of FinOps on AWS. Thank you.
Work, John. Thank you. Exciting new announcements. Great to see their involvement across so many levels of this. Next up, wanted to welcome to the stage another large company that you might recognize. Has been a longtime foundation member. They were founding members of the Focus Project and are also plugged in across our TAC and governing board. Please welcome to the stage Cyril Belikoff from Microsoft.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. It's great to be back at FinOps X. I was just chatting with the team backstage, and it's amazing to see the focus of FinOps in AI. I remember us launching Copilot and Microsoft Cost Management almost 2 years ago now. And then a year ago on stage here, we spoke for the first time about FinOps, about AI, and I remember chatting with JR in a one-on-one walking meeting and begging him to put the effort of the foundation behind AI because of the velocity of what we were seeing with our customers. And so I'm really excited to be back and to talk about how we're thinking about that and what we can share with you and really connect this audience with your colleagues inside your organizations. Whether it's developers, IT practitioners, or decision makers, it's really about driving cloud business value. And so whereas FinOps is the discipline, AI and agents is really about the innovation. And we have to think about how we can bring those worlds together. And you heard Mike speak earlier about the amazing innovation that the foundation's been putting in to make this a reality. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time in talking about how we're embedding this not only into tools for yourselves, but tools for your colleagues. We are pushing ahead to put the principles of FinOps inside core products that engineers and developers might use inside your organization so that when you go talk to them, they have those practices and are able to deliver on it. And so really, as I mentioned, there are 3 key audiences, from developers to practitioners and IT and decision makers. FinOps and cost management remain really important. And you heard in the era of AI, even more so. There is so much happening, the velocity is high, the business need is high. For the first time in many years, many decades maybe, business is pulling an IT trend and not IT pushing a trend. And so business is pulling really hard on how AI and agents can help them. So let's dive into developers. Really, they think about productivity and automation and how they can think about what they can do in their daily lives. And so you heard a previous speaker speak about GitHub Copilot. GitHub is used, and GitHub Copilot is already used by 15 million developers. Just think about what that means. 15 million developers out there are able to use AI and agents in a way that amplifies and helps their day, helps them be significantly more productive and remove costs from their organizations. So here you can see just some staggering numbers. Just think about replicating a developer almost inside your organization. So the time to problem solving and taking away repetitive tasks is a really, really powerful capability. So when you go talk to a developer about how they can help manage costs or be more efficient or optimize, GitHub Copilot is the way that they respond. But we're not stopping there. We really want to make sure cloud adoption is key to how developers think about it. And one of the top activities that they spend time on is app modernization. And so I'm pleased to announce available now new AI agents within GitHub Copilot that essentially take the load on app modernization. And so these capabilities will allow organizations to modernize apps onto Azure faster using these agents that everyone talks about, these famous agents. I really want to see what they look like. Anyway, from code assessments to remedying app code configurations and all the dependencies are related to it, AI is able to help make it faster and more cost efficient to get to the cloud. And so here you can see some staggering examples. For the first time, I think Microsoft is available with Java and .NET coming soon. That's a first. But we're obviously committed to open source. And so by fast-tracking migration and modernizations with agents, allow organizations to really think about their cost structures, moving that cost structures to the cloud, and then with this audience and this community, able to manage those cost structures. So also Azure AI Foundry, an amazing service that really brings together a set of capabilities and allows you to manage an AI infrastructure in an integrated way so that you can evaluate models, decide and pick the best one based on price, performance, and many other factors, manage those models, optimize those models, and train them and tune them all in one place. But that's not the only thing we need to do. We need to think about doing the same thing for agents. Agents are exploding, and I'll talk about it in a second, but you can imagine each person in this room has between 5 and 50 agents working with them or on their behalf at any one point in time, not too far in the future. And so available now is a great new agent service in Azure AI Foundry that does exactly that. Allows organizations to manage the interactions with those agents, to monitor those agents, optimize them, and obviously manage those cost structures. It's staggering, the numbers right now in organizations. Foundry is 70,000. That's been around for some time, but in the last 4 months only, 10,000 organizations are using our new agent service to build agents in their organization. So if the FinOps Foundation focus on this is really, really important because the volume of these agents is growing exponentially every single day. Okay, so let's pivot over to IT teams and jump straight in. What's important for IT teams is can we give them the guidance on how to do modernization straight out of the gate so that their applications that they're modernizing are cost-effective, optimized, secure, safe, and really stretch across the different components from tools to technical patterns and best practices. This is the deepest app modernization guidance available in the market so that we can help customers get efficiently to the cloud with their existing applications. Okay, not only that, but this audience loves optimization. This audience loves pricing. And so, of course, you know we have savings plans, reservations, hybrid benefits available to all of you. But announcing today that available soon, we're going to have Azure AI Foundry provision throughput reservations. What that effectively means is the ability to use a single PTU reservation across multiple models within an organization. You know that your organizations are adopting multiple models. And so with the ability to really stitch things together across these models to provide flexible deployment, achieve those cost savings, and align costs to budget goals, you'll be able to use a single PTU reservation across Azure OpenAI, DeepSeek, Microsoft Models Phi, and then others like Llama, Grok, Mistral, and Black Forest. So your developers and your organizations can have the flexibility and the power of using multiple models, but at the same time, you'll be able to provide a PTU cost structure in a single way. Okay, so quickly pivoting over to decision makers. Here, they're already thinking about visibility and data-driven decisions. I mentioned Copilot and cost management. That's something that you would use today. We continue to deeply invest. It has now been 2 years in this front. And so we're working every single day to make it richer and richer so that this Copilot can provide recommendations to all of you and your colleagues in terms of which resources are working, not working, how to best optimize those resources, and what you can do in your organization. In addition to that, for those who are not using cost management, the product itself, we are able to bring in the focus specification into Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is essentially Microsoft's product for the data tier, and providing that already to 20,000, and something like 70 to 80% of Fortune 500 organizations already use Fabric. So Fabric is now focus aware. So somewhere in your organization, Fabric is likely being used that allows you to ingest cost management data across multiple clouds directly into Fabric, and then empower your leaders with automatically built analytics and AI, generative AI conversations against that data so that you can embrace those decision makers. So bringing it all together, we really focus on embedding the principles of FinOps into our core products, whether you're an IT practitioner, developer, business decision maker, or you're a FinOps practitioner. So obviously FinOps in the era of AI is taken off. Agents is the new kid on the block, this new form of AI moving quickly. And I really look forward to the rest of the conference. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll be able to chat with you soon. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Cyril. Okay, we're going to mix it up a little bit right now and get into a quick fireside chat about some of the concepts that we've been hearing about. So if you remember, yesterday we mentioned that we had an exec summit happened on Monday. This was a small collection of SVPs, EVPs, and CXOs who came together to talk about this concept that we covered on the first day, which is FinOps is enabling executive decisions, both taking guidance down to define the scopes, as well as providing feedback and data back up to help feed into forecasting, margin information, product details to guide future investments at the highest levels. So to dig into this a little further, please welcome to the stage Nishant Gupta, EVP of Engineering at Salesforce.
Thank you, Jaya.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Anything standing out yesterday from the conference for you?
It's a fantastic conference. There are a couple of team members from my team, George and Will. They did a session on cloud optimization. Yeah. George is part of the focus group. It's been a blast so far.
Yeah, I heard that session was packed, and George has been a great contributor to Focus. So thank you for allocating some time there. So let's get right in, Nishant. Why don't we start with your role and its relation to FinOps in that stack from boardroom down to engineer?
So I'm EVP Engineering at Salesforce. I sit within the engineering organization. My team is called Cloud Economics and Capacity Management. We manage all of Salesforce infrastructure capacity as well as budget and all the spend.
And what does the scope of that practice look like in terms of types of technology?
Cloud spend, first-party data center spend, power space spend, hardware spend, software vendor spend. So anything and everything that goes in to serve traffic to our customers to run Salesforce, that's within the purview of
Okay.
of the infra spend.
So across that whole spread. And the FinOps teams sit a few levels below you.
FinOps team sits right under me,
Okay.
alongside the capacity team and alongside sort of what we do, trying to migrate our customers from our own data centers over to public cloud.
Okay.
So FinOps is an integral part of making that process.
And where do you sit in relation up to the sort of board level, and where do you report into?
So I report into the engineering leadership. My skip level is Srini, who reports to Mark. So fairly close up to at the C level at this point.
And you shared something interesting this morning in the prep about your engineering leader above you. He has not only engineering, but also customer success, which I thought was fascinating. Why is that?
So I think the products are getting more complicated, and in order for you to deliver the product and not just develop it, but also carry it forward from the sales motion and then what challenges customers are having and making sure the customers are successful and tying it back into the engineering to make it a very tighter loop.
Yeah.
That's the reason we sort of decided to have both the engineering and the customer success part of the same organization.
It's a very cool model. So let's talk a little bit about that concept of the FinOps-enabled executive decisions. We know kind of where you sit in the organizational structure. What sort of common directives at the level you can share do you get downward from the board in terms of how you need to adjust strategy or set direction for the teams? And how do you funnel that down? And then what sort of data do you bring back up?
Yeah. So there are, I think, broadly two main things I would say that sort of come top down. One is sort of the product strategy, product direction, where we are going to invest. And the other thing is, okay, what is the associated budget for the infrastructure we're going to get for the year? And then once we get that, based upon the priorities of the company, we decide to figure out where we want to invest, how to allocate that money to various business units, how to allocate that money to various services. We look at what the spend profile is. We look at what the run rates are going to be. And at the top level, it's done sort of, we want to hit a particular margin profile. So it's all about managing the cost and making sure we hit our margins. And then at the bottom level, we try to sort of then figure out how to make the top down and the bottoms up meet together. And then, there are some interesting conversations because there are some hard choices you got to make. What we funnel back up is, are we on track or not? And then sometimes there are hardship cases that we need additional funding on, or we change direction. AI is a great example where, the spend is sort of unpredictable in terms of where it needs to go. So we need to have a little bit of a leeway. So those are the main things. And then the other thing is just informing where we are from a long-range planning perspective, right? And how to think about the next year budget, how to think about the opportunities and what that spend is going to look like, and what business strategy decisions we need to make that are multi-year into the process. So those are the conversations sort of top-down, bottoms-up.
Well, there's a concept that I'm hearing a lot from some of the other executives who are here, which is that, often technology teams want to go choose and use the coolest technology that's out there and the thing that's most effective for their job. But then there's also strategic partnerships and investments that happen well above those teams that sometimes factor into technology choices. So, how do you see that playing out with, the needs of those teams below you, where you want to enable them to move fast and use whatever they want, democratize it, decentralize it, but then you've also got certain commitments you may have made or strategic partnerships that are being dictated from the top?
Yeah, I think we want to make sure that the developers have the right tools to do the job. Now, there are more than one right tool that's available in the market. So at some point, you want to have consistency because you want the people to be trained on a particular tool set. You want people move around within the organization. So you want to have the consistency. So at some point, and I'll take an example about observability tools. I've been in that space for about 8 to 10 years. If there's any decent tool on the market, somebody somewhere within Salesforce is using it, right? And that's all great, but when people move and you have centralized teams that manage your site reliability, you can't look at 20 different dashboards. You can't use 20 different tools. So you need to think about how you want to centralize those. And as you centralize those, then you make some decisions which are top down, which are sort of mandates. And I think it generally helps in there's economies of scale as well. So as you sort of consolidate things, you're able to get more efficient as well. So I think depending upon how big the problem is and how big the spend is, we need to make certain decisions. But for the most part, we let teams do whatever they need to do.
this example of observability platforms or insert any type of platform, I'm hearing so much where large organizations end up with SaaS sprawl and platform sprawl.
Yeah.
And so much of the conversation that's come in, I heard many of you talk about last night, is how the FinOps teams were initially being asked to wrap arms around the total spend, but then increasingly are pulled into the sort of rationalization side of that as well to help get, and this is some of the software asset management things we've heard about and IT asset management.
Yeah.
Let's make sure there's compliance for those platforms. Let's make sure we got the right contract terms and renewals. Let's make sure they're being used fully. And then let's also like tie that into our total cost of ownership across those.
Exactly, because in FinOps, you're sitting really at the intersection, not just engineering and finance, but also product and sourcing and the executives. So you sort of help make those decisions or inform those decisions or influence those decisions because there are repercussions across the board. So you need to sort of take all of that into account. And if you are managing the spend, you have good visibility, right? So it's your job, and I think it's probably your responsibility to make sure that you tell others on what's the right thing to do.
Well, that was one of the folks in that Monday forum used the term that the FinOps team is kind of the best analogy as a central nervous system, because it is connecting those pieces and aligning those.
Yep.
So you mentioned earlier hardship cases. And so you get top-down budget margin directives, and you take that and you split it out to your teams. But then sometimes it turns out the teams need to come back with a hardship case. What does that look like, and how does that funnel back up?
We sort of make a case in terms of why we need more funding for a particular area, what are the revenue impact of doing that, or the revenue impact of not doing it. And then if there are extra budget, we do the allocation. Part of the thing as we do the budget allocation is also we set the efficiency targets for the teams. It's like, look, we look at what your spend is. We think that you can optimize 5%, 6% in this particular area, or 10% in a particular area. And we sort of build that as part of the budget. And sometimes those things potentially pan out or may pan out a little bit later, right? Not in the right time frame. And so if there are hardship cases where you need to go back up to your CFO and say we need additional funding, then hopefully you'll probably only get it. If you don't get it, then you sort of figure out a way to what to cut and what to optimize. One other thing sort of keep in mind is with cloud spend, like if you get additional funding, that's a run rate conversation at that point, right? Now that's baked into your exit run rate. So you need to be mindful of how much you're spending.
Yeah.
Unlike marketing budget, you can't really pull the plug once, quarter after quarter.
So you're using, from the underpinning aspect, those FinOps teams are able to feed data back up that sometimes is not good, that, hey, we're unable to accomplish these goals you've given us for the money you've deployed. We need to change that strategy.
Yeah, it's like very rare cases.
Yeah. So let's talk about AI.
Let's talk about AI.
Let's talk about AI. Little topic today. Where are you sitting within your teams for how you're starting to implement AI for creating better efficiencies? And then how are you on that inverse side starting to manage it?
Yeah, so I think Mike said it really well, right? It's all new, but at the same time, it's all the same, right? So it's different levels, different terminology, different ways you want to optimize it. But at the end of the day, it is the same cost. It impacts your unit economics. It impacts your margins. And you need to manage it much like you manage, cloud resources, right? The key thing is, and I don't mind spending money on AI, I don't think anybody does, but the key thing is, are you being efficient? And how do you define those metrics in terms of what being efficient means? Like for a Kubernetes cluster, for an EC2 instance, I know what the efficiency metrics are. And I can define it and I can track it. For AI collectively, we don't know what that efficiency metrics are, right? And it depends on the organization, depends on the use case. So we are in the process of sort of defining those, tracking them, and then try to manage that spend, try to manage the forecast, and figure out what the spend for the next year is going to look like. Because, the cost per token, the cost per inference is going down, but the usage is going up.
Yes, which makes it
and
hard
they're
to
both
forecast.
Exponential, which makes it harder to forecast because you will have to make certain assumptions on both those sides as opposed to just one. So that's FinOps for AI. And in terms of AI for FinOps, we are doing a lot of other things internally. We want to democratize the data that we have for non-engineers to be able to see this, to be able to query directly from the source. So we are investing on some projects on that front. We are also investing on areas where we want to be able to have better predictions, better forecasting.
Excellent.
Right? The more accurate our forecasts are, the better we can manage the cost, the better we can manage the risks, right? So how we are using time series LLM models, we have internally developed models that we are using external models as well. And then there is an aspect around, and I think John talked about it, we have something very similar around the spend goes up, you look at a time series data, you need to know why. Right? How do you explain what happened?
Yep.
And that helps in just building more credibility and more trust and better understanding of the data. So there are a few projects going on in that space.
I'm reminded of like one of the basic atomic units of FinOps. In the beginning, we talked a lot about there's two levers you have to pull to influence your spend. There's usage and there's rate, right? It's P times Q sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you've got, for the usage side with AI, not only is everybody trying to use it, it's democratized, it's like shadow IT all over again, but people are still trying to figure out the right use cases for AI, and a lot of people are using it for the wrong use cases. So there's an unknown there with the usage, which is what should we be using it for. But then, as we've heard from all these talks, there's also the rate conversation is dramatically changing. I mean, Microsoft just talking about a different way they're doing PTU commitments. We're hearing about these model prices dropping.
Correct.
We don't even, some of the models are changing dramatically. How SaaS providers are pricing it in. Yeah, so it's a wild west.
It's a wild west right now, and I think to me, I see very parallels in terms of my journey for using the observability platforms, which is you need to then get to a point where you have an opinionated view of what models are good enough for what use cases, right? I think the Workday scenario, we saw that, not the Workday scenario, the Wayfair scenario, where they defined sort of the min quality bar, right? And the cost of models very differently. The cost for using, Anthropic's Haiku versus Sonnet, significant cost difference. So at some point, you need to start to get opinionated about, for this particular scenario, use these set of models, or whether you're streaming versus whether you're doing batch, or how optimally you are writing the code, or how optimal your prompts are. So I think it's going to take some time to sort of get to that level of maturity.
It's going to take some time, but it's moving so fast that we're also going to accelerate how we catch up. So on Monday, that exec forum group, which, by the way, was really fun for me because, we're like a weird nonprofit that came up kind of almost as a startup. And when we started 5 years ago, we had 26 members. Some of you are out there, the original 26 who started the FinOps Foundation practitioner community. This exec forum was essentially that again. We had around 26 people in the room, starting that kernel of conversation that we're going to grow out over time. So you were in there. There was a mix of, mostly, I guess, engineering leaders, a few finance leaders. What were some of the themes and pain points that you thought stood out from those conversations?
Yeah, it was a great day. I think, just having a peer group and share wartime stories in terms of the challenges that you are facing, and sort of gives you validation in terms of you're not only the one dealing with all this stuff. Almost everybody is dealing with the similar stuff. Few things stood out for me. One was, I think, a lot of us started on the practice of cloud management because it's a variable cost model. But a lot of these teams, including my team, now have to manage other things, whether it is software spend, whether it is, first-party on-premises data center spend. So we are using the same processes across the board, and there are other people in that group who have a mixed model, right? Yeah. There are insurance companies, there are banks. They will have an on-premise presence, they will have a cloud presence, but they need to centrally manage all of it. That was one. I think where you sit within the organization,
yes,
and the challenges you face are very different. So I sit within the engineering organization. There were others who sit within the finance organization. And so what relationships you build, and how you need to reach across the aisle to get the work done, and what your challenges are, that was sort of very different. So good to hear from the other person's perspective in terms of what challenges they have. And I think the third thing was just the unknown around the AI piece, how it's going to change and impact, and different use cases and how people are using it. That was sort of the third thing that came to mind.
Yeah, it's, Emma, who spoke yesterday in the keynote, was in there as well. And we were chatting about how she was noticing there was a real difference in the companies in there between those where the FinOps leaders were in the hub. And so a lot of the banks and insurance companies have a hub and spoke model where they've got a central team that's enabling a bunch of different business units, versus the FinOps leader who might be in the spoke and is specifically tied to a particular product vertical. and how, on one side, the hub folks are more focused around obviously ensuring everybody's got the cost data and chargeback and the allocation side. And the spoke people, and a lot of times, are more using the data to directly influence product strategy, and it's more part of their day-to-day. So where do you sit in that?
Yeah, so we are certainly on the hub side, but we try to push the accountability and the ownership to the edge. I would not say that we influence the product strategy as much, because to me, I think cost is a second factor when it comes to the product. I want product strategy to be determined by what our customers want and where the market is, and then we'll figure out a way to optimize it later. But we do influence the business strategy, but not necessarily the product strategy. And I think the business strategy, there are other aspects in terms of, what region are we going to expand? Do we have enough volume of business over there, enough revenue to be able to justify the cost? Are we going to be completely out of our on-prem, our own data centers, or are you going to still maintain some presence? What's our multi-cloud strategy, and how should we think about it? So I think those are broader business strategy from an infrastructure perspective that will influence not so much the product strategy part.
Amazing. Well, we're at time, but in a soundbite length, what do you think we're going to see in the next year with this FinOps for AI and AI FinOps emergence?
I think this entire group over here will probably spending way more money on AI compared to where we are right now. So I think it's going to be a bit chaotic, but I think collectively, I think we'll be learning a lot more. So hopefully there will be, more processes and frameworks in place that we can talk about next time.
We're all in it together. All right. Thanks so much, Nishant.
Thank you,
Great to see you. All right, so for the next speaker, we're going to get into more of these announcements and updates from the cloud service providers. This company, which you also may have heard of, has been around for a while and is interesting intersections with not only the cloud side, but also licensing and a lot of those areas that many of you have dealt with them for some time. They more recently joined the FinOps Foundation, but have been heavily involved in a number of working groups. They're sitting on our governing board as well, and also contributing heavily to things like how FinOps works in the data center and some of the SaaS and licensing areas, as well as on the cloud variable consumption side. So please welcome to the stage James Deloyd from Oracle. Take it away.
Hello everyone. As you can see, I'm James Deloyd from Oracle Cloud. Quick show of hands out there. How many people are currently using or plan to be using Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? All right, that's great. This presentation is for you. Come up to the front. I'm here to talk about some of the FinOps investments that we're making to help our customers get more value out of our cloud. We're a little bit more formal. I had to put this slide in here for my legal department to make sure that I don't get in any trouble. So we'll skip through this. And I'm going to bring it back to some of the OG questions that our customers are trying to answer. So people that are using our cloud are a little bit earlier in their Oracle Cloud FinOps journey. And so when talking with our customers, we're really trying to make investments that help them answer some of these really key fundamental questions. So the first question is, how do I comply with my regulations? And we're really excited to announce that we have an enhancement to our current carbon emissions reporting tool that's now compliant with all global regulations. The next question, which is extremely common across everybody in this room, is like, how do I prevent bill shock? And everybody's familiar with the problem that, you get your monthly charges, they're higher than you expected, and unfortunately you found out at the end of the month, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we're extremely excited to announce an upcoming investment in our OCI cost anomaly detection capabilities. This will inform you, mid-billing cycle of any abnormal usage patterns so that you can make changes to minimize the negative cost impacts. Another thing our customers are struggling with and is paying for charges that other teams usage, typically caused by inaccurate tags. And we all know how long it can take for engineering teams to prioritize a tag update while that cost is, just continually being reported inaccurately. So we're making an investment in a new feature called cost categories that will solve for this challenge. The next question that we're trying to answer is, how can I make decisions faster? So our job as a cloud provider in this multi-cloud world is to really make sure that we provide you with accurate and timely receipt of all of your charges. So we're really excited that our engineering team is investing enhancements in our data processing pipeline to make data available to you faster than ever before. The final question is, how do I maximize the value in the cloud? And currently, Oracle is already the market leader in pricing performance, but we're excited with some of our pilots that we have going on right now that are exploring new commercial models that are helping customers get even further rate optimization and more value out of our cloud for a lower price. So now we're going to dive into some of our features that are coming up, starting with our carbon emissions reporting. So this new enhancement is using a new calculation methodology. It's looking at hourly data and using a power-based calculation and regional carbon emissions factors to comply with, as I mentioned, all global regulations. So customers can view their emissions over time and meet all their reporting needs. The next feature I mentioned is cost anomaly detection. So out of the box, customers will receive default monitors that are looking at service level usage across all of our cloud regions. Customers can also create custom monitors to monitor individual workloads or specific resources. Now, once an anomaly is detected, we'll provide you with insights that will help you accelerate your remediation efforts. Customers also will have the ability to subscribe to alerts to have more proactive notifications and early detection of these anomalies. The next feature I mentioned is cost categories. So this allows, it really puts cost allocation in the hands of the FinOps practitioners. So FinOps practitioners or users will create rules that will apply dynamic cost allocation tracking dimensions to each new or historical cost record. So the biggest benefit of cost allocation or of cost categories is the ability to retroactively apply these dimensions to historical usage data. So this helps solve for those inaccurate tags or missing tags or reacting to your organization's changes in budget ownership or resource ownership. I'll close it out with a stat that our engineering team, some of our leaders are here today, are extremely proud of, 67%. This is the number we're striving for enhancements to our data processing pipeline, making cost and usage report data available to you within 2 hours. Woohoo! This will enable you to get more real-time data as you're feeding it into your AI and will enable quicker, more responsive decisions. Again, my paranoid legal team, I'm required to put this in twice. I couldn't believe it. So these features are still in development. I would love it if you would come visit me at our booth, and we'd love to get you on a list to get early access to these features when they're ready. I look forward to meeting you too. We have 2 sessions coming up this afternoon. So please find me, introduce yourself. I'd love to hear about where you are in your cloud journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. So our next speaker is also from a company you've been hearing a lot about, Google Cloud. And Google was actually the first cloud to join the FinOps Foundation. This speaker has been involved with us for a number of years. She sits on the Technical Advisory Council. She sits on the Focus Steering Committee. They also have representation on our governing board, great contributors to the foundation. Please welcome to the stage, Sarah McMullen from Google Cloud.
Oh. All right. Hello again. How's it going? All right, for those that don't know me, my name is Sarah McMullen, and I head up Google Cloud FinOps product here. And like this event has evolved over the years, so too has our Google Cloud FinOps product here. We started with looking at getting a rich bedrock of data, granular, fast. By the way, did you notice? We actually just released more granularity for compute, supporting now nodes and disks. We also started to evolve some of our FinOps tooling around budgets, around our commitment analysis. And then we launched the FinOps Hub, our one-stop shop for cost optimization across our entire Google Cloud. And in 2024, I stood up here and I declared, we had truly leveled up FinOps. But truth be told, we actually really leveled up by listening to you, the FinOps community. And when the 2024 State of FinOps report came out, we were ready. We were ready with rich tooling to help you manage your commitments through our real-time scenario modeling. We also leveraged AI and produced anomaly detection at an hourly rate with root cause analysis. And we expanded our cost data to look at carbon reporting at both market and location-based rates. And we're seeing really the fruits of our labor. It's really exciting. Our FinOps community is increasing in their Google Cloud FinOps score, which is a measure of how our Google Cloud customers are using data and our tooling to inform their FinOps practices. They're also saving more time through the use of Gemini Cloud Assist to create personalized cost reports. And they're also saving money. Since we put out anomaly detection, we've seen over 1 million cost anomaly alerts delivered to you, our community. And honestly, it never gets tiring hearing from folks that come up to the booth about how much money this feature has actually saved them. So the question really on our minds is, what is 2025 going to be the year of? Well, State of FinOps report has come out, and it looks like the top 3 are around workload optimization and waste reduction, full allocation of cloud spending, and accurate forecasting of spend. So I think this means we're going to need a lot more FinOps. And in fact, we talk about increased scopes, but does this mean that the day-to-day jobs of the FinOps community stops? I think what this means is that the increased demands on the FinOps community are increasing. And for this, we know we're going to need a lot more FinOps. We're actually going to need FinOps Plus. So let's start adding to your team, shall we? So how are we going to take on workload optimization? Well, let's start augmenting your team with a Google Cloud FinOps developer. We all know the FinOps journey starts with understanding your costs. And our AI just keeps getting better. With Gemini Cloud Assist, you can now create your own personalized cost reports, and now we have even deeper cost insights. So you can see across your whole entire cloud landscape any cost trends at different scopes, now also supporting Google Cloud applications. It's highly accurate, it's really useful, and it's great for just everyday spot checking of your costs. So we've got our FinOps developer to automate this cost reporting for us. What else should we get them to do? Well, one of the questions we can get them to help us answer is whether this spend is actually good spend, or is it bad spend? Is it wasteful spend? This is where FinOps Hub 2.0 comes in, with now Gemini Cloud Assist. So we've now equipped FinOps Hub with developer insights on utilization at the resource level. But don't worry, you don't need to be a developer to understand these things. You can now quickly see at a glance utilization insights across your projects, across your services, across your Google Cloud applications. You could see also a waste map that highlights where you can look. And we know actually waste comes in many different forms, right? Like it could come in the form of an over-provisioned VM that's barely used, or it could actually come in the form of a misconfigured managed service. or even potentially an over-provisioned Kubernetes cluster. These waste showed here, easily visible, and with Gemini Cloud Assist, you can now summarize and send top utilization insights to your line of business leaders or your SRE teams to take action. And all our utilization insights come with new recommended actions to take. So for example, with Kubernetes clusters, Kubernetes Engine is a really great resource to run AI workloads, right? Now you can use these cost optimization recommendations, send them to your SRE teams to take advantage of. And by the way, I should mention, all of these cost optimizations come out of the box. You don't need an agent to install. So how are we going to tackle full allocation of cloud spending? Maybe we should get a Google Cloud FinOps data analyst involved. So for all you multi-cloud users, we heard you. Last year, we put out a big query materialized view and Looker dashboard to support the focus spec. We've heard you loud and clear, and this year, we're super proud to announce that we fully invested in the focus spec by producing a fully fledged BigQuery export. This QR code signs you up for the private preview. We have waived the cost of the BigQuery storage, so for folks to adopt the spec, give us feedback, and then as we continue, we will continue to evolve our export to support newer versions of Focus. So number 3, how are we going to tackle accurate forecasted spend? Well, for this, we're going to need a Google Cloud data scientist for our team. Forecasting cloud spend is difficult, and we recognize that. So we wanted to put this power of the Google Cloud data scientist into your hands. So we're really proud to announce that we've enhanced our forecasting capabilities in our cloud cost reports to now handle seasonality. So for example, you turn things down on the weekends, it will recognize that. We also can handle outliers a lot better. For example, you're bringing on a new workload or changes overall to trends. So for example, you're doing a lot of Gen AI spend. These foundational changes to our cost forecasting abilities are just the start of a bunch of more capabilities that we're really super excited to unlock for you as the days and weeks unfold. And with that, I believe we have indeed added to your team with what you need to take on Cloud Plus. So thank you for your time today. I want to also encourage folks to come see our booth, participate in our user experience lab, and we have a really exciting customer session this afternoon at 2 o'clock with Cardinal Health, Walmart, and MLB, where we'll be talking about the interrelations between developers and the FinOps community. So unlock cloud value today and make the most of your remaining time at FinOps X. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so before you walk out the door, tonight in here at 6 o'clock, in here, out there on the terrace, there's gonna be the party. There's gonna be loud spaces, quiet spaces, interactive spaces. Come back here, share the learning and networking. I'm gonna leave you with a couple things for you to continue the conversation with the community. We host 15 to 20 community calls a month. These happen in every region of the world. They're all in the next month going to be follow-ups and conversations from the learnings here at X. Go join some of these community calls to engage with your local communities, or join one in a different time zone if you want to try that. We're excited to announce 4 new open FinOps X days in regions. All of these are available to buy tickets for now. They are one-day versions of this event, but complete with keynotes, chalk talks, breakout sessions, and conversations. These sell out fast. Some of our team is going to Tokyo, some of our team's going to Sao Paulo, some to Amsterdam, etc. Book it now if you want to get to these. These are very limited in space. And I'm very excited to announce for us next year's dates for FinOps X. We'll be right back here, June 8th through 11th, 2026. So please block off your calendar. Tickets will be launching soon. We'll see you all tonight. Have a great night.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps X 2025 content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.